She went to the hospital for a checkup because of a bump on her chest, but she found a man staring at her. Annie was a little confused. "I'm sorry, who are you?" Jamie hurriedly claimed that she was an intern doctor. Annie finally let go and let the doctor continue. This sweet moment made Jamie feel endless. However, when she was self-conscious for the scene just now, she was struck by a set of sharp blows. It turned out that Annie saw the medicine in her backpack. She realized that she was not a doctor at all, but a medical representative. Jamie was beaten and begged for mercy. Now Annie just wants an apology. She thought that she could easily catch the other person with her handsome face and eloquent words. But Annie is not a woman who can be easily fooled. She ran out of the camera and took a picture of the man. In the end, Jamie did not forget to send her a friendly international greeting. However, Jamie was not happy, because this is the first girl she did not easily win. You should know that before this, whether it was a young girl, or an old lady with white hair, or a sexy golden-haired girl, almost no one could escape her handsome face and the skill of tongue-in-cheek. Sometimes, just a simple sentence can easily win the golden-haired beauty. Although she doesn't know what her name is, if she calls her that every time, she will definitely come to explain that her name is not Lisa. In this way, she has a chance to win her. Even her last job was because she accidentally got together with the boss's wife. As a result, she was swept out by the boss. Later, she, who did not want to be a homeless, accidentally entered a pharmaceutical sales company. Although the company promised a very high average salary, she had to pass the 6-week boring free training test first. Until she mastered enough medical-related knowledge, she was qualified. It is said that if you want to learn everything, you have to follow the master first. After a few days, Jamie won the company's training teacher. Then she successfully completed the test. She became a medical representative of the pharmaceutical sales company. It can be said that as long as she likes a woman, she will not give up. Now she met such an interesting girl as Annie. Jamie swore that she would find a way to win her. Not long after, she got the front desk nurse first. Then, through her sweet words, she got Annie's contact information from the front desk nurse. When she called her, Annie was not surprised. She just took care of Jamie and didn't want to keep pestering her. Jamie apologized for the last time, but turned around and praised them for being really beautiful. Jamie used all his eloquence to meet Annie. At this time, Annie also knew that if she did not refuse in person, this man would be like chewing gum. She couldn't get rid of it. In the end, the two of them met at a cafe. Jamie was full of expectations, and he was thinking about the idea of countless meetings. But the moment he touched Annie's clear eyes, all his thoughts disappeared in an instant. Because he seemed to have seen the most beautiful star in the world. Annie said to him with a few jokes, "It seems that your little trick is nothing." But her fingers trembled involuntarily. Jamie observed this detail. This kind of gradual shudder is afraid of the typical reaction of a nervous patient when he is emotionally tense. This makes him understand that Annie's words are not true. When he was thinking about how to deal with it, Annie said, "First, since we all have the same idea, why are we wasting time here?" Annie's enthusiasm and running made Jamie, a long-term lover, look forward to it. Since then, Annie has often taken the initiative to ask Jamie not to bring Jamie to her home, but to start directly on the street where there is no one. Sometimes he even comes to the door himself in the middle of the night. In the end, he took her directly to the workplace. The two often walked out of the small house one by one. This makes a thick-skinned Jamie feel shy. Whenever Jamie is free, he will bring food to Annie and enjoy the happy time of the two alone. It is said that love grows day by day. But before Jamie reveals a further idea, Annie first said the rule that they can exercise together but can't have feelings. Because now she no longer believes in men. It turned out that she had a few good relationships before. However, when the other party learned that she had Parkinson's, they all chose to leave her. Now she no longer longs to love with anyone. She just wants to live a graceful life on the basis of self-respect. But Jamie, who has always been unruly, did not take it seriously. He agreed to Annie's rule and thought that he was the one who earned such an easy relationship. But as time went by, Jamie gradually realized that there was a subtle change in his heart. Whenever he received news from Annie, he would feel an inexplicable happiness in his heart. No matter where, he always wanted to hear that familiar voice deep in his heart. Jamie began to realize that this was clearly the feeling of excitement. So he started to call Annie from time to time. Although every time he talked about something irrelevant, Annie was always with him. Until Jamie said, "I just want to hear your voice more." Jamie's true feelings made Annie alert for a moment. Then he hung up the phone without hesitation. Because at this time, once he got sick, he couldn't even open the package of the biscuits. He also knew that in this real world, no one would be willing to accept a burden like him, especially a romantic man like Jamie. So after one more exercise, he told Jamie decisively, "This is the end of our relationship." Jamie thought he was just kidding himself, so he left after agreeing quickly. After Jamie left, Annie picked up a photo. In fact, when the two first met, Jamie's words had already moved his heart, but considering his physical condition, he could only choose the most direct one or two. The next day, Jamie was like usual. When he threw all his competitors' medicine bottles into the trash can, a man suddenly came and hugged him. It turned out that he was not only a competitor of his own medicine bottle, but also a man who had abandoned Annie. And before he left, he warned Jamie to stay away from Annie. Jamie didn't care about his warning, but thought he was completely jealous of himself. However, at this time, Annie was planning to separate again. Because it's better to leave the city where she is, so Annie decided to take the bus to a lonely journey. However, when he was about to get in the car and leave, he accidentally found Jamie chasing him. Jamie had to know when he would come back. Until he got the answer he wanted, he was willing to let him leave. Looking at Annie's distant figure, Jamie's heart was filled with a sense of disappointment. If it were before, he would turn around and leave without hesitation. But this time, his heart was not willing to give up. So the night before Annie came back, he took the bus here and waited quietly. His heart was full of hope and longing for meeting again, until he entered his dream with this longing. The next day, when Annie got off the bus with a tired body, he was surprised to find that Jamie had been waiting for him to come back here. The coldness of the early morning was instantly dissipated by Jamie's passion. The distance between the two was also gradually narrowing. When he learned that Jamie had been waiting for him here all night, Annie was moved instantly, so he agreed to their relationship. In this way, Jamie finally walked into Annie's heart. Then their relationship quickly cooled down. They not only walked into each other's life, but also influenced the trajectory of fate in the infinite. With Annie's company, Jamie seemed to have infinite motivation at work. Directly from a quiet employee, he became the trump card of the company. People who come to him to buy medicine every day have no end in sight. Everything in life is full of unprecedented smoothness. This may be the magic of love. It will infiltrate your life inadvertently. When you suddenly come back, you find that there has already been a change. As the sales performance is getting better and better, their car has also been replaced with the latest Porsche. Under the warm sunshine, the two are immersed in the happiness of love every day. Annie cherishes every minute and every second with Jamie. Since Annie is very fond of photography, she will often record the intimate moments of the two. Sometimes, the secret shooting will make Jamie shy. Gradually, Jamie also learned to shoot. The photos of the two are slowly spread all over the table. Later, Annie's artwork also went to the art exhibition. They thought of each other and fought together, as if the disturbance of the outside world could not disturb this tranquility. However, on a quiet night, when Jamie was sharing the achievements of his work with his family, he did exaggerate his performance inadvertently. This made Annie's heart suspicious. She didn't understand why Jamie lied to his family about the results. Jamie thought Annie would blame himself, but Annie did ask him to say his 4 strengths. For this question, Jamie seemed a little confused, because he has never been recognized by others. But Annie did comfort him. You are smart, handsome, rich, talented, determined, and recognized by the woman you love. Jamie feels extremely confident and proud. Due to work needs, Jamie often has to go out to participate in various social events. During this period, the woman who is unruly and romantic sent Chiobo secretly. If it was before, he would definitely do it well, but now his heart has a home. So every time the party is over, he will rush home. If Annie has fallen asleep, he will not disturb her again. This day when they got home, they just chatted a few words. Jamie suddenly felt suffocated and difficult to breathe. He couldn't even finish a sentence. Under Annie's patience, he worked hard for a long time and finally said a sentence. I love you. What? He said this so hard. Not because of timidity, not because he doesn't love Annie. It turns out that even if he was romantic before, he had never said these 3 words to others. So it's like a cute boy said it, nervous to tremble all over. But this feeling of unreserved effort makes his heart full of unprecedented happiness. When they thought that a happy life would continue like this, Annie's Parkinson's disease suddenly deteriorated. His hands began to become unstable even with scissors. With all his strength, he couldn't even shake the bottle of medicine. Even a glass of wine could be spilled out. Carefully, Jamie noticed this series of changes. He was very worried. However, Annie strongly opposed Jamie's mention of his illness. He began to lose his temper with Jamie. He kept saying harsh words to her, trying to drive her out of his life. After a crazy speech output, Jamie finally couldn't bear to leave the door open. However, when he heard Annie screaming, he still stopped. At this moment, he finally understood Annie's inner struggle and despair. He swore in his heart, no matter what, he couldn't face his future illness alone. So on this full of twists and turns night, their hearts were more closely connected than expected. Fortunately, it was just a broken cup. A few days later, they drove across the city to attend a Parkinson's patient exchange meeting. At the meeting, there were all old people holding their breath. The young and beautiful Annie was extra eye-catching in it. No matter how serious these people are, they all maintain an optimistic and positive attitude. Although they will encounter many inconveniences in life, they can use a joke to turn the tragedy into a comedy. On these people, Annie really felt an invisible force and decided not to blame herself anymore, but to live a serious life every day. However, when he was about to welcome tomorrow, Jamie's original firm heart began to waver. It turned out that while waiting for Annie's exchange meeting to end, he met a family member of a Parkinson's patient. Since his wife had been sick for many years, Jamie wanted to get some experience from him. As a result, the other party told him to pack his luggage and leave as soon as possible, and then find a healthy woman to spend the rest of his life with. Because you can't stand it at all, he gradually became stiff, unable to take care of himself, and even became quiet. If you are willing to turn the incident into a tragedy, Jamie did not expect Parkinson's post-traumatic stress disorder to be so serious. At this moment, he began to reconsider this relationship. However, after the wedding, Annie seemed to be reborn. Not only does it look amazing, but also thanks Jamie from the bottom of his heart. He has never abandoned himself. But the more Annie showed strong dependence, the greater the burden in Jamie's heart. So when Annie looked at him and said, "I really love you," his smile gradually became unprecedented bitterness. Faced with the dilemma of retreating, Jamie decided to take a third path after a deep consideration. He started to study Parkinson's disease and sought help from a doctor he knew. He wanted to find a way to cure Parkinson's disease. Although the doctor told him that this disease was not curable, Jamie still asked for the contact information of all relevant doctors. After that, he began to take Annie to visit famous doctors around the country, looking for a chance that might not even exist. However, even if he attended multiple consultations and examinations during the day, even if he attended another exchange meeting, when the nightfall came, all hope became disappointment. Not only that, because he was busy all day and had no time to work, Jamie's credit card was soon used up, and their hotel was getting worse and worse. Finally, on the same day, they drove to the hospital for many days in a row, but were told that the appointment was postponed for half a month. Jamie couldn't help but explode in emotions. Looking at a gentleman, he actually thundered to the nurse for himself. Annie thought it was time to end this useless work, and she thought that although she had Parkinson's disease, she couldn't waste all her time on the doctor's consultation. She didn't have much time to take care of herself. If this continues, it will be a waste of time. At the same time, she also realized that Jamie was doing all this to comfort herself, and she couldn't let this hopeless relationship ruin Jamie's career and even his life. After all, now Jamie is at the peak of his career. If you work hard, you can not only achieve wealth and freedom, but also the possibility of becoming a rich man. So he chose to break up. On a snowy night like this, love defeated reality and disease defeated ideals. The two who love each other finally parted on this silent snowy night. After that, Annie often sneaked up to cry, but she couldn't turn around and could only cover up her memories. And Jamie often becomes stagnant when walking or lying on the bed all night. It's hard to sleep. Thinking back to the sweet moment with Annie, the younger brother saw that she was in a daze and was ready to take her back to her former romantic life. It just so happens that this is a call from a doctor friend. Invite them to a pajamas party. At first, Jamie didn't want to agree, but under the soft touch of his younger brother, he still came to the scene of the red light and green light. However, he was not in a hurry to have fun, but to talk about his ideals with his doctor friend. At first, the friend firmly believed that the doctor's career was very noble, which could make people's lives better. But as the number of patients came in, and as the chicken feathers and garlic skins became more and more, he also became a bastard who depended on his identity to get money. Perhaps most people should be like this. Under the pressure of life, he lost his ideals and became both vulgar and pitiful. After a seductive but empty indulgence, the news of Jamie's promotion suddenly came. He is going to Chicago to serve as the chief executive. Excited, Jamie tried not to call Annie, but every time he only left a message to respond to her. The two met again at the cafe where they first met. At this time, Annie was already in love. The distance between the two is less than half a meter, but at this time it seems to be thousands of mountains and rivers apart. The thousands of words that I originally wanted to say, but in the end it only became a sentence. "How are you?" But Annie pretended to be strong and refused to show weakness. When she was blown away, she was ready to run away. But Jamie called her again. The eyes of the two of them were full of deep love. Annie wanted to rush into Jamie's arms directly. But when she learned that today was Jamie's celebration, she realized that it was the right choice, so she could only turn around and leave and return to the dark night. The story of the two began here and ended here. Not long after, Jamie packed up and was ready to go. Suddenly he found a camera. The memory of him being blown away was awakened again. That was the first day he confirmed his relationship with Annie. After a warm-up, they took pictures of the daily life with a camera, looking at Annie's happy smile in the picture. Jamie also stared at the video and giggled. At that time, they were so happy, sweetly talking about their final home. It will all be full of birds and flowers. Annie's appearance is the choice of fate. The lost past is the love that cannot be grasped. But for Jamie, everything is still in time. So after seeing his true heart, he came to Annie's workplace without stopping. But he was told that Annie had gone to another city. On the way to love, Jamie couldn't help stepping on the gas pedal. Finally, after speeding past one car after another, he caught up with the bus where Annie was. And Annie also saw Jamie chasing after her in Jamie's shouts. She drew a gesture to make Jamie leave quickly, because at this time, everything has been irreversible. However, Jamie did not want to give up. Finally, when the bus stopped at a service area, Jamie walked up. He begged Annie to give him 5 minutes, but Annie kept her cool, until the old man behind her started to help Jamie. "You are handsome." Unintentionally, Annie had to get off the bus. However, the gold medal that used to rely on the mouth to eat at this time became incomprehensible and illogical. He didn't even know what he was talking about, because his brain was already blank. Only Annie in his heart. Only her blue eyes were gradually filled with blood, revealing endless tension and anxiety. Seeing Annie also began to sigh. Jamie said, "I need you very much." But Annie knew that she needed her care more. However, Jamie thought this was not a problem. "It isn't fair." Jamie took another step closer. "You can imagine that we are healthy in parallel space. You only need to consider where to travel and how much it costs. Or who is happy that day. And now we are so special. Even if one day you will leave this world first, I will face it calmly and say goodbye to you in person." This is the most sincere and touching confession. Hearing that Annie no longer had a reason to let go, the two finally hugged each other affectionately. Later, Jamie gave up his job in Chicago and decided to stay and apply for a medical school. He didn't know if this choice was right, but he knew that in life, if you want to have a good person who touches your heart, you really can't ask for more. Love Rain is directed by Edward Zwick. Annie Hathaway and Jake Gyllenhaal lead the lead role. The love movie that was released in 2010. Jamie was originally a relaxed man, walking around all day, but it was his handsome appearance and his sweet words that made him famous in the sales industry. At first, Jamie thought that he could spend the rest of his life from the middle of the night until he accidentally met the beautiful Princess Annie. However, when he decided to confess to Annie, Annie refused him, because 26-year-old Annie has Parkinson's disease. Although she is still in a serious early stage, this disease develops rapidly. It's possible that she can't take care of herself in a few years, so she doesn't want to enter a stable relationship. She doesn't want to involve innocent people in her life. Although Jamie hesitated, Annie is like a good medicine to him. Not only did it cure his inferiority complex, it also made him realize his true appearance. And he is also willing to be Annie's good medicine. Stay with him all his life. Jamie said that you meet tens of millions of people every day. No one really touches your heart. Then you meet the right person. Life is completely changed. Love is really a luxury for humans. It's true that the right person who can meet Jamie in the big world is also desirable. So when you are really hurt, even if you are hindered, you should give it a try. And the so-called right person will definitely make you feel confident, will definitely encourage you, will definitely see your heart clearly, will definitely support you. At the same time, the so-called true love will also make you learn to love yourself and find the advantages and glory of yourself. Only in this way can you love each other more and know how to be a good lover. And when you really understand and have love, you will find that love cannot be a meal, but it can give you the motivation and ability to make money. Not only that, love is also a good medicine to comfort your tired soul. As for you, because of life, you are full of creativity. Okay, that's all for today's movie. Welcome to like, comment and forward.